Greetings, fellow Canadians and truth seekers. It's been quite a week, hasn't it? I'd like to share some of my comments and thoughts in regards to the United We Roll convoy that went to Ottawa and at this point in time is driving back home. One thing that is really needed in Canada is a unifying principle, and this is what this convoy has done to a great degree. That along with the Yellow Vest movement in Canada, both of these things are growing and capturing the people's imagination. Many people are standing on the sidelines complaining and seeing the destruction of Canada before their very eyes, but they feel powerless to do anything about it. But once you have these unifying principles in place, people can stand up and lend their voice and their hand, and it becomes a large voice. And that's what we saw over in Ottawa, didn't we? As you saw the convoy go throughout Canada, you could see the people standing on the side of the road and helping out and offering even a barbecue or two and fireworks and all of these things. Those who were involved in driving across with the convoy were overwhelmed by the support, and it totally surpassed their wildest expectations to see Canada coming together on these points. Anyhow, there were some fantastic speeches made, and hats off to all of you who did that. And we want to thank you for establishing February 19th as Canada's Patriots Day. That will be a rallying cry in the future. I have to admit, I kind of questioned the timing of the rally, being in the middle of February there and the cold weather, and wondered who was going to be showing up in Ottawa to help support it. But as it turns out, the timing couldn't have been any better. The day before, February 19th, you have Judy Wilson-Raybould out of nowhere pulling that left hook and laying out Gerald Butts flat. A knockout punch. It was just all happy days for all of us, I'm sure. Happy days for Canada. So the Liberals were just reeling from that and reeling from the SNC scandal that they're highly embroiled in. And things are going to be revealed as to how far the corruption really goes. But anyhow, now you got the truckers coming in there with their horns just blasting away, penetrating through the walls and windows of the Parliament building there, and just shaking to the bones those Liberals who've created all of this chaos for Canada. Perfect timing. And I have to say, you know, like I always had to laugh whenever there was one fellow who put a train horn right on his vehicle, you know, a locomotive horn. I don't know who did that. I'd like to talk to you. That was great. I don't know if you created that just for this rally or if that's how you roll, but it was fantastic. One thing I noticed there was how that the staging area for people when they're going to be having their speeches and whatnot, and for the crowd, was that long rectangular little area there. It looked like in a snowbank, probably just snow-covered lawn, but not a nice rectangular area where people could kind of get around and spread out a bit. But you know, people had this great big long rectangular thing that they were standing in, so the people in the back probably couldn't even hear what was going on. What a disgrace. I did notice that CBC and Global were really trying to push the agenda, trying to pin the badge of anti-immigration racism on the Yellow Vest movement. They're really trying hard on that front. There was some honest reporting, but yeah, there's a real spin on that Yellow Vest movement. I know from talking to the people that is simply not the case. So here you have, you know, this convoy going all the way across Canada to go and make their voices heard in Ottawa, and not one Liberal showed up. You know, if Trudeau didn't have the courage to go ahead and to show up and to speak to the people, he could have at least sent someone else. Maybe even Gerald Butts could have talked, but no one. And that just goes to show you what's really going on. They have no intentions of changing anything. You know, they're bottlenecking the oil in order to be able to achieve their Agenda 2030 agenda. And then you had the Conservative Party, you know, sending out several people to talk and give their rallying cry and all these things. Andrew Scheer there talked all about the importance of sending out Alberta oil to the world, and you know, world-class oil and blah 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 blah. Never once talking about how he would do it. Now this is a very interesting point that I think that we should notice. There's a Pierre Poilievre, I don't know how you say his last name, he's an MP from Calgary, I believe. Rebel Media videoed him. I'm going to share this with you and catch what he says here.
And somebody said, what are we going to do about it? Andrew Scheer is the only federal leader who's actually announced a plan to clear the way for pipelines. That is, use Section 92 of the British North American Act, empowering the federal government to approve pipelines that cross interprovincial borders at every single stage.
Now notice how he's saying it, but Andrew Scheer isn't. I'm just wondering if this is going to be cover for down the road when they actually do not, if they gain power and they do not implement this. Andrew Scheer could easily say, well, I never said that we would use Section 92(10) of the Constitution to push this through. Yet the people are being swayed right now by what has been said here. We'll find out what the truth really is. But better than that would be to elect, Maxime Bernier and the PPC into power, for they do have a plan. They're the ones who've been talking about using Section 92(10) of the Constitution long ago already. And I think the focus groups and polling and putting their fingers up in the air, the CPC guys, Scheer, they said, oh, this is a really big issue. We better start creating our talking points on this to be able to convince the people to vote for us. Now, think about it. Under Stephen Harper, for 8-9 years of his reign, they had all the opportunity in the world to send across a Trans-Canada pipeline for national security. It simply is just a no-brainer. So they didn't do it then, and they're not going to do it again in the future. They've signed on to the UN Paris Accord, which calls for a 30% reduction of CO2 emissions by 2030 from the 2005 levels. Yet Canada from that time has increased 7 million people. I don't know, is that 20%? Just doing rough math. So we've had a huge increase of people in Canada, and they want to do this huge decrease. They don't want to go ahead and use more fossil fuels. They're bottlenecking it. I don't believe a word they're saying on it. So they didn't do it, and the Liberals didn't do it. There's only one party that will do it, and that's the PPC. One thing I'd like to note here is that the day before the actual rally, I had phoned Glenn and I asked if I could actually interview him in regards to this whole rally and whatnot. And he knows that I'm pro-PPC, and he declined actually to be interviewed because he didn't want to show any kind of political allegiance. He wanted to be very neutral with this whole thing, and he wanted the whole focus to be about bringing the energy sector back for Alberta. And that I respect. I actually, when I was there filming, I did actually do an interview with him. I didn't know it was him, and I don't think he knew it was me. And he did a great interview, and I would have loved to include it, but out of respect to him, I didn't include it in the video. And if you haven't seen the video, I'll put a link below. I'll also put a link in regards to the Rebel Media videos there on Andrew Scheer and Pierre. So anyhow, it's been fantastic. I wish there was more people that was showing up on the eastern side of Canada. I was hoping for at least 10,000 people, but it just goes to show that this movement really is small yet, but it's small in the sense of people who are actually active doing it. But for every person who was there, I'm sure there's at least 1,000 people or more who are backing it, who just aren't, being a part of it for one reason or another. Maybe their schedules didn't work. It was during the week as well, right? So people were taking time off work, and it was cold and all these other kinds of things. So it's a start. I think it's a shot across the bow to let the establishment know over in Ottawa that the people of Canada are waking up, and they're not taking it anymore. And come this October 21st, we're going to show who's boss. So thank you for watching, and please get involved wherever you can. And if you can, share this video as well. Thank you.